Hey, how's everybody doing? Can you guys hear my audio pretty good?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
got it. Cool. Sorry.
Yes, we can hear. I can hear.
Thank
Yes,
you.
we
Thank you.
can.
All right, give me just a couple more minutes and then we'll get started with the webinar. Hang tight. I'm setting up some gear here and we'll be starting soon. Thank you.
John, can you mute?
All right. Thank you guys for joining me. My setup today is a little bit unorthodox. I'm at a hotel room, so I'm kind of I'm traveling this week. But thank you for joining me. I'm hoping this webinar goes without a hitch. Trying to see if my internet is gonna stay active. But anyhow, thank you so much. This is Touchpix webinar 101. Definitely see there's a lot of interest in our software. Not sure if Tia's on the call. Tia, are you on? I'll let you do a quick introduction if you are.
Yes, I'm on.
Go ahead.
Hey, everyone. I'm Tia. I am a member of the Touchpix support team along with DJ. I provide, like I said, I'm on the support team and I also manage our social media and all of that content. And I'll be providing support during today's webinar in the chat, answering any questions that may come up. I don't know if DJ already mentioned this. This is kind of like a modified webinar this week. So we will still, pour in all the information, as much information regarding getting started with Touchpix. And so I'll be answering questions in the chat. So as much as possible, or depending on how DJ wants to operate it, make sure that you answer extra questions in the chat, or they may come up later to avoid interruptions during the actual webinar.
Thank you, Tia. Yeah, and like I said, this is going to be a little unorthodox. I am going to go through a complete setup, but I dropped a couple of hints in the group this week, and I do want to address them. First and foremost, we definitely want to apologize on behalf of the Touchpix team for last week's incident, where it forced a lot of users to just shorten their record time, right? The app looks like there was a glitch in the app. It was released, and by the time we caught it and it was fixed, we have to wait for Apple to dump it into the Apple App Store. You know, a lot of people were able to get through their events, but a lot of people that are not part of social media or in our group, they weren't able to adjust in time. So we do offer a 7-day support team. We urge everybody to just take note of that number. That way, you guys, whenever you guys are in a jam, you're actually going to speak to an actual person. We offer support 7 days a week. The fix was pretty simple in the sense of the record time just needed to be shorter. But other than that, we try to communicate as quickly as possible to address the fixes. So if you were one of those people, again, on behalf of the Touchpix team, we definitely apologize for that. Software, sometimes there's glitches, and we try to catch them as quickly as possible. And some stuff is kind of left outside of our hands, but we will do everything we can, including sometimes give you a test version of our, what we call test flight, so you can get up and go with your event without any hiccups. But we can't do that unless you call the support team. You definitely want to keep note of that. We operate 7 days a week, 10 a.m., 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. Tia dropped all the links in the chat room, so take a note of that. And the other thing I wanted to just convey to the group is Touchpix is just not just your typical 360 software. It also does photo booths. It gives you a lot of different options for you to share your content, right? So if you share your content via email, text, AirDrop, we've integrated Dropbox and Google Drive now. There's just a lot of ways where you can share that content. So one of the common questions that I want to address in this webinar is something that I receive in the group numerous different times, right? Why aren't my texts being received? Why aren't my emails being received? And I wanted to start the webinar just to kind of give you guys a sense of how to determine whether or not your stuff's going to be sent out or not, right? A lot of due diligence needs to happen in regards to preparing the event. We try to educate everybody, every user, on how to do it properly. We do understand that a lot of people kind of work at their own speed. They may take the advice and they may not, but at the end of the day, we supply you with the know-how on how to get through any event. So starting with the sharing process, just to be very, very clear, you know, Touchpix does rely on internet to actually disperse that video via email or text, right? You need to understand that although you don't need an internet connection to run your event, when it comes time to share the content, and if you're sharing it via email or text specifically, you do require some type of internet connection. I don't ever recommend you use a venue's internet connection because those are not reliable. I understand a lot of people do that for cost saving purposes, but it's not something that we recommend because you have no control over that connection. Now, a lot of people also have hotspots. They go into the cell phone providers and they get a hotspot to be able to have some internet connection. So what I need people to understand is that these hotspots are only as good as that cell phone provider's signal. A lot of us have done events out in the boondocks where no matter where you're at, you're only going to get 1 bar of signal, or you might not even get signal at all, meaning that if you're relying on a hotspot with 1 bar or no signal bars at all, you're not going to have any luck sharing your content, right? Because the mobile hotspot work off your cell signal. And if you don't get any signal out there, more than likely, you're not going to be able to share your content. And what I mean not sharing your content is not sharing your content at that specific time. Whenever you go to a reliable internet source or a reliable internet connection, then your content's going to automatically distribute as needed. A lot of people also have issues with closing events. And the number one issue is not having stable internet. The other issue with not being able to close events is you're allowing your iPad or your iPhone to fall asleep. We recommend that when you're closing your event, you leave your iPad on without it triggering into screensaver mode. That way everything dumps out. So what I wanted to start this webinar is just to give you that bit of information, right? I think it's important for you guys to realize that, but also I want to give you guys tips. Touchpix offers way more solutions as far as sharing and making sure that your clients get the end result. One of them, and the most popular way to share, is via AirDrop, right? AirDrop, you do not need any type of internet connection whatsoever. It'll share from iPhone to iPhone, and it's a pretty instant sharing method, right? Now, what about the Android users? Unfortunately, the Android users don't have AirDrop. So with this webinar, I wanted to start off with what Scanpix is, because I indicated in the group that there was a new way of sharing, or there's not a new way, it's been out for over a year. It's just new to a lot of users that haven't really gone into finding out what Scanpix is about. Scanpix has been out for way over a year. We were one of the first providers to be able to allow this type of connection to happen. And what Scanpix is, it's a small investment. You get it's about a $60 router off of Amazon. You configure your router. All it is you configure a router. And by doing so, on the back end, you're allowing your guests to scan into your router to be connected to your router. Now, your router doesn't have an internet connection, right? By you allowing the end guest to log into your router, you're basically giving them permission to access your Touchpix gallery for that specific event. So once they scan the first QR code, you're automatically allowing them to connect to your private network. The second QR code will now allow them to access that gallery. And you have control of what that gallery is going to look like. You could have them access the entire gallery if that's what you want, or you can be a little bit more mindful with privacy issues and say, look, I'm going to set this thing up, but I'm gonna only allow for maybe 2 videos to pop up. That way, you know, as guests go on, people start getting their own videos and not somebody else's videos, right? Does that make sense to a lot of people? Because I am going to start the webinar with what I use. I'm going to show some things about what Scanpix is. It's absolutely free. Scanpix is a part of Touchpix, and I think that's what a lot of people get confused about. Scanpix is just an add-on feature that Touchpix has on the back end, and you can configure it that way. So I'm going to go ahead and turn on my camera. That way you guys can see what I'm working with. And excuse my hotel room if you guys see that. I'm actually in San Diego. Give me a sec here. So it looks like that's working pretty good. Give me one sec. Here we go. So as you can see here, the router that I choose, or I recommend, is this router here. It's super small. It's called the MikroTik router. If you have a TP-Link router, those work fine as well. The reason why I chose this router is because it's small. If you look at my mouse right next to it, it's the size of a mouse, right? Super small, compact, doesn't have any antennas that you need to worry about. It is 12-volt compatible, meaning that if you can power, I'll probably get away with powering it from a battery pack, or you can just plug it in straight to power. So I'm going to show you a couple of things on how to set this thing up, right? For your advanced users, if you want the best of both worlds, I don't want to confuse some of the new users, but if you want the best of both worlds, I also have a Verizon hotspot here. Right now, it's currently charging. I'm going to unplug it. And the reason I unplugged it, and I want to show you something, is if you want to be really advanced and you want the best of both worlds, you want to use Scanpix and internet sharing, what you can do is get a hotspot. It needs to have a USB-C, right? This USB-C on Amazon, they sell a dongle that goes from USB-C to a Ethernet cable. You plug in your USB-C, and here your Ethernet cable can be plugged into any of these 4 ports, and now you're shooting internet over to this router, and this router will now have internet as well. That's the best of both worlds. This is a very advanced technique. If you're not wanting to use it that way, don't worry about it. I'm going to show you how to use it and guarantee file delivery by just owning this without any internet whatsoever, okay? Give me one sec here, my mouse fell. Like I said, I'm in a constrained little hotel room here. So that's the router that I use, okay? I'm gonna go ahead and switch some screens over because I want to show you the setup process. Give me one sec here. I'm hoping you guys are still able to see my screen. Okay. I'm going to show you. I was only able to take some screenshots because what needs to happen when you set up your router, you're not connected to the internet. And if I were to show you the process right now, our Zoom call would disconnect because I need Zoom to explain things to you guys. So what I did is I took a screenshot of what my setup looks like and I dumped it into this folder. So sample one, right? I'm hoping you guys are able to see that. I renamed my router, right? Once you get a router, you have to rename it. Or you could keep it the same name that it comes with, but I will always rename it. I always recommend for people to rename it. Rename it something very simple. Maybe it's your business name. Try to stay away from using special characters like exclamation marks, the pound signs, anything that has a special character, try to stay away from it. In my case, I named it the name of my business, right? That's my sample one. Once you're able to rename it, you will have access to go into your router. And when you have access to go into your router to connect, right? I'm going to show you sample two. And this is how you rename it, right? Once you have access to connect to your router, if your router comes stock, like mine comes stock, it'll have like its brand name. It'll be called MikroTik on the network. Once I connect to it, right, and I have a good connection, I'm going to be typing these magic numbers here. This is router specific. So for this router, you're going to be using this number here, 192.168.88.1 on any web browser. And if you're connected to that browser, what it's going to do, it's going to take you to a configuration page. This is where you're going to change your router name and your router password, okay? So in my case, once I logged into this page, this is what I named my router, my business. That's all you got to do. Then you're going to set your security parameters. In my case, the only other thing you have to pay attention to is your security being WPA2, and then whatever password you want to use for that router. And in my case, it's going to be enter 1234, right? So initially you purchase a router, you get it, you connect to it at its default state. You're going to type in your IP address as your step 3, right? Once you're connected. Once you type in the IP address, it's going to take you to the router setup page. On the router setup page, you're going to change your network name to something that relates to you, that you're going to remember, something simple, no special characters, right? Then you're going to scroll down to the security and password section. I'm using WPA2, it's the newest encryption. And I'm using something very simple like enter 1234 as my password. It can be anything simple. It just needs to be simple, right? Don't worry about security because you're not plugging this router into anything else but your Touchpix Scanpix. Once you've done that, right, then you go to step 3 and you simply hit apply configuration. At that point, your router is going to reboot. Once your router reboots, you will now have access to Scanpix. Now I'm going to take you to where, what Scanpix looks like now. I want you guys, I'm hoping this makes sense to a lot of you, okay? So give me one quick second here. I'm going to connect back on with my screen mirroring. And we're going to go from there. You guys have any questions with that initial setup process?
So far, so good.
Got it. Cool.
So far.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was my problem trying to get this figured out because the YouTube video didn't really break it down this far.
Yeah. In the YouTube video, I mean, we try to do our best to be as detailed as possible, and sometimes we overlook that a lot of people don't have experience with setting up a router. Okay, so now I'm going to go into Touchpix, right? Let me see. This is my Touchpix. That's an old event that I did. So once you're in Touchpix, what you're going to need to do is a couple of things. My Wi-Fi right now is connected to my Wi-Fi, right, where I do have an internet connection. And I don't want to disconnect from it because if I do, you're not going to see the screen mirroring. But in my case, this is the name of my router. Let me see if I could do it with a different phone that I just, I think it'll be better. That way you guys can see the full effect. I'll do it with a separate phone, and that way it doesn't interrupt the process here. Just bear with me real quick. Okay, here we go. Okay, this is another phone that I have here, right? What I want you guys to do once you have your router set up is now go into your Wi-Fi settings and make sure that this phone is connected to your router. And in my case, it's the Central Cal photo booth. That connection doesn't have an active internet connection. So, and I'll prove it to you guys because I'm going to go into Safari and I'll go into something random. Well, that's Scanpix. Let's try to use something else here. Let's go to ESPN. And as you can see, it says there's no internet. So right now, all we did is connect it to a router that doesn't have internet connection. Then you're going to go into your Touchpix app. This should be happening from your iPad, right? You're going to activate your, or you can, it really depends, right? You can do it two ways. If you're an iPhone user, you can run it off your iPhone without a problem. But if you're a GoPro user, you're still going to require two devices. iPhone users can actually run it singular with one device and get away with it, right? But if you're a GoPro user, you're going to need your device that controls the GoPro and then the separate device. And the reason why you need two devices is because your primary device is locked into your GoPro's Wi-Fi. You can't get away from that. Then your sharing station, your iPad, should be the one that's connected to the router, right? Because it needs access to the router. Once you reach access to the router, you're going to open up Touchpix and go to, menu, settings, and we're going to scroll over to where it's called web server, right? This is the back end to Scanpix. This is where you set everything up, right? So the first part, the activate web server, that needs to be toggled off. That gets enabled at the very end. And you only have to do this once, right? Once you do it once, you don't have to do this every single event because you're using the same router, nothing's going to change. So this is only a one-time thing when you set up Scanpix for the first time. So the active web server, leave that off for now. The active photo limit, that allows you to tell your guests that once they log into this gallery, you're giving them access to a certain amount of photos. In my case, or videos, in my case, is set to 4. I don't want to give my guests access to the entire gallery. I just want to give them access to the last 4 sessions that were done, right? You can change that number to be, 30, 40, 50 if you want, or you can just have it be 1 or 2 videos. That's really up to you. But privacy is a thing, right? So give me a sec here. It looks like it locked. Okay. So that's what the number 4 is. And the screensaver timeout, that's just how long that QR code is going to stand on your, it's going to take 30 seconds for it to trigger. And you'll see what I mean by that. So what we're going to do here is the contact name. Obviously, that's the name of your business. You can put XYZ, or you can put XYZ. Well, autocorrect is your phone number. It can be the name of your business, 555-555, all 5s. You can promote your web link, xyz.com. This is all just samples. So this is the important part here. The Wi-Fi name and Wi-Fi password. The Wi-Fi name needs to be exactly the way you set up your router in the back end. So if you use capital letters, the capital letters is case sensitive. It needs to be exactly the same. In my case, everything is lowercase. And it's the name of my business. So Central Cal. And always double check twice, because it's easy to overlook a simple mistake and this can really screw things up. And then my Wi-Fi password is super simple. Is enter 1234. Then my security is WPA2. And once you have it set up, what you're going to do is hit generate QR code, and you're going to see one QR code pop up, right? Now, once you are confident that all your information is accurate, you're going to scroll all the way to the top. And now what you're going to do is activate web server. And now by doing that, you're going to see a second QR code. These are my QR codes here, right? And all I'm going to do now is hit go back. And if this was my sharing station, I would go through the same process as I did before with my other sharing station. I'd go to gallery, hit activate as receiver. Let me grab my other phone real quick. That way you guys can see how I'm gonna activate my phone as a sender. Okay. You see how the screensaver just clicked on? So this one's going to be activate sender from my phone. Okay. Give me one sec here. It's hard to do it with one hand here. Okay. Start again. Settings. Make sure we go back to where we needed to be, the web server. Everything there looks fine. Now I'm going to hit activate web server. Gives me my second QR code. I'm going to go back. From here, I'm going to go to gallery, activate receiver. Then I'm going to go here to my normal phone that's capturing. Okay, looks like my Bluetooth is off or my Wi-Fi is off. So see, it actually gives me warnings. You see how I had my Wi-Fi off? It wasn't detecting anything. That just needs to be on. It doesn't need, your sending device doesn't need to be on the same internet. So that's what was throwing everything off. So now I'm going to go activate sender. It says iPhone. It says success, right? So every 30 seconds or so, you see these screensavers pop off, right? And this is how they'll have access to the gallery without any internet connectivity. So as you can see right now, if I go to this phone here, you're going to see that it's connected. Well, I can connect it to my MiFi, which is a different internet. That's my hotspot. And the reason why I'm showing you this is because I'm going to do a test run right now live, right? So right now, my device is connected to the internet, right? So I have internet access. So what I want to do is connect here now. So what I want to do now from this device is, if you open up your camera app, this applies to any guest. They'll run a session, they'll get off the platform, and then they'll go either to a printout of these 2 QR codes, or they'll go to the actual sharing station where they'll see these actual 2 QR codes. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to click on camera from my phone. Then what I'm going to do is scan that first QR code. You see how it's picking up that network? The centralcalphotobooth.com network. I'm going to hit join. I'm going to give it a couple of seconds. Once it joins that network, now what I'm going to do is scan this bottom QR code, which is access to that specific gallery. Pick it up the top one. Let's make sure it's connected to the right network.
DJ, why you do that? I hate interruptions, but I keep getting this question. I don't know if I missed it. Since this is a modified webinar, will this be recorded and shared?
Yeah, it is. It is going to be
Okay.
recorded and shared.
Got it.
Give me a sec here. It's just difficult because I only have 2 phones. And technically, I would need my 3rd phone to scan into this. That way you guys can see that. But once you scan into that specific IP address, let me see if I can bring it up here. I'll try to see if I can load it real quick. You guys kind of get the workflow. They scan the first one, they scan the second one, and by scanning the second one, typically what would need to happen now is they have access to the gallery. Let me just turn this off and on real quick. Sorry. I will need a 3rd phone because again, this was my sender, this was my receiver, and I'm just kind of trying to show you guys right off the cuff here how it would work in a real life situation. So again, I'm going to scan this. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to grab my iPad. I think that'll work a lot better with my iPad real quick. You guys have any questions while I grab my iPad real quick? That way I can show you guys the full run through on how it should work.
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Once we set everything up with the 2 different QR codes for the event, we can print them out?
Yeah, you can print them out for sure.
Okay, and the second question is, like you said, you could have them for like, say, the last 4. What if somebody comes back and needs to get one that's not in the last 4?
Well, at that time, You have two ways of doing it. And I'm going to do it correctly right now. And sorry about some of these mishaps here. So yeah, there's two ways of doing it. The way I'm going to show you right now when I grab my iPad is the following. If indeed it's from an iPad, once you tap on those QR code on the QR code screen, you'll be able to kind of type in your phone number or your email address. So if they come back and say I didn't get it, then I would revert to them using your sharing station as normal. They're not going to get it instantly because it'd be too much for you to kind of stop everything and stop your flow to get them their video. I mean, we always, as attendants, we're always looking for the opportunities to kind of streamline our work. And in this case, if they're the ones that said, look, after you told them, hey, grab your file and they forget, it's really on them. There's really nothing you can do but offer the normal sharing station as a solution, meaning that they're going to go to the sharing station, type in their information. And once they type in their information, it's going to queue. So whenever your iPad hits a real internet connection, it's going to take it to them. Does that make sense?
I think it does.
Okay, and I'm going to show you right now. Give me
cool, no problem. I'm just curious.
Yeah, I'm going to show you on that.
Thank you.
No problem. Let me see if I can toggle away here. Yeah, and like I said, that's why I wanted to show this kind of modified webinar today, because I think the sharing portion is very unique. So
sorry, DJ, quick question. Is this for just routing purposes?
This is just for routing purposes. This is to guarantee delivery of your content without worrying about you having internet or not. I think this is a very important technique for people to learn, in the sense that a lot of people are always kind of saying, well, how come your stuff isn't sending out, DJ? And they don't understand that the need of internet or Wi-Fi or a good cellular connection is sometimes essential. But if you don't have that, there shouldn't be a reason why you shouldn't be having this in your tool bag anyways. Like, this should be a must for everybody because it's free. There's other companies that charge you well over $500 to $1,000 for just the same service that we're just kind of going over right now, right? So there's no excuse really why you shouldn't be going this route. I would set up every single event I have with this route and use my sharing station as a backup, right? In the event that people don't get their products. So I just don't understand sometimes why people having this up front and being free don't want to use it, right? And I get it. Sometimes it's because they don't know how to use it. So this is kind of why I'm doing this modified webinar based on just the scanning portion of Scanpix.
Got it. And are you covering the event setup on Touchpix today or no?
I'm going to get to it. I'm going to probably skim through it as fast as possible, but I will cover an event setup.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. I just didn't want to confuse a lot of users, but I do feel like we're at the point now where this is an extremely important process.
I don't know about you guys, but this is helping me out a lot.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, hopefully it does click. I know a lot of new people might be like, what is he talking about today? But don't be intimidated. This is kind of like I said, it's a free tool. Don't be intimidated, and this is designed for you guys to succeed. All right, so this is what I'm going to do. Give me one quick second here. I'm almost done. I'm just setting everything up on my end. That way I don't have any further issues here.
While you're getting started, doing that, DJ, I'll take some more questions. Does anybody else have any more questions?
Yes, we can use the router for both the iPhone and the tablet, correct?
What do you mean?
So like he was saying, when I set up my router, I could use it for my sender and receiver.
No, so the router is for the sharing, so is for Scanpix, the sharing station.
Okay.
And you're setting up your sharing station as the receiver. Your control device or your capture device is the sender. So whatever you take your pictures with, take your videos with, or if you're using a GoPro, whatever device you control your GoPro with is the sender. Your sharing station is always the receiver. And that is the device that's if you're using Scanpix, that's the device that's connected to your router.
I'm using my iPhone. So it
Whatever
automatically go to
whatever device you're using to connect with Scanpix, that's what will be your sharing station. You sound still confused.
Yeah. I'm old.
Okay.
So once they get on the 360 and it does the spinning and it stops. For my iPhone, what's my next step? I guess that's what I'm trying to get to.
So if your iPhone is your recording device, they record the video, it processes, then you're able to share. So if you can share directly from that device if you don't have a sharing station. So you'll set up on the initial steps. So it's Touchpix that DJ will breeze through because this session is modified, and you'll select your sharing option so they can text, airdrop, etc. You could do that directly from that iPhone device that you're capturing with, or as DJ stated, you could set up a sharing station. You'll activate the sharing station as your receiver, and then your phone will be the sender. So as soon as that video is processed and you hit next, it'll transfer that video to your sharing station where they can then use that to go get their videos and send it to themselves.
Okay, I think my question is, does the iPhone have to be connected to any kind of Wi-Fi?
If you're not using a sharing station, yes.
Okay, but since I'm using my tablet, my iPad as a sharing station, I'm good.
Yes, your iPad would either need to be connected to internet or connected to Scanpix. So you might be best suited for watching one of the previous webinars. I put links in the chat.
Okay.
Since you're a new beginner, this webinar isn't necessarily suited for new beginners who need to be walked through the entire process. That's why I put those links in the chat.
Okay.
So we're covering Scanpix and the sharing solutions, which is highly requested in every webinar, and then we're going to go over modified process of getting started. So this webinar isn't necessarily suited for the new users. So please utilize the links in the chat.
Sure.
Hey Tia, if DJ's not ready, can I ask a question?
I think he's ready, but go ahead.
Okay, so just trying to wrap my mind around it. I got the video. I know I need to go back. However, just so my mind is connected to what you just said and what DJ was saying, the Scanpix is just to use if you don't have Wi-Fi and you want a sharing station.
Yep. So if you are at an event where you don't have good reception, or if you at an event where you have high volume, like weddings, festivals, etc., where internet can be a little shaky, Scanpix is the better solution because it's not dependent on any Wi-Fi or anything, and that daggone router can handle a lot. So I've used it at weddings, festivals. DJs use it at big events. So if you don't have internet, or if you even do have internet and it's not reliable, Scanpix is always good to just have as a backup for you at any event, big or small, regardless of yep.
To work in the mountains and the hills.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay, I got you now. Okay, thank you.
No problem. Go ahead, DJ.
All right, here we go. Give me just 2 more minutes and then I should be ready to go. I'm just trying to
Okay, well, I'll take another question.
Hi there. Quick question. Where do we go? Where can we go online to get a music cutter for iOS?
So I'll put links in the chat. Or we don't really dig into music because as Touchpix, we recommend royalty-free music and sites, and typically those sites, the music is already trimmed. But I'll put a link in into that and advise on trimming popular music, etc. But I will put an overview of music in the chat.
Amazing. And then my next question would be, say during the setup where there's a countdown of 1 and the motion trigger is enabled. Is that necessary, or should it just be one or the other?
That's your preference. The motion trigger enables the countdown, so the countdown won't stop until the motion is triggered.
So how will it start if the motion trigger is not enabled?
You would tap slow-mo on your device and it'll start the second, and it'll start the countdown. So you either have the motion trigger to start the countdown, or you tap slow-mo. You'll see it in your app, and that will enable the countdown to start. Those are the two options to start your session.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, here we
I have
go.
a question.
Go ahead.
I'm brand new, but I have 2 questions. First, I'm using a GoPro 10, so I understand my GoPro 10 will capture. I have an iPad that's going to be my trigger. So now I have a second iPad. So I'm assuming I need to set the second iPad up as a sharing station and connect that to Scanpix, because my original iPad, it can only be used as a trigger and that's it. And that's connected to my GoPro internet. Is that correct?
Correct. So the sharing station is the only device that you would be setting up as to Scanpix. So yes, if you're using those 3 devices, your sharing station would be the one that's connected to Scanpix for sharing.
If I'm my sharing station, if I just went ahead and said I can't do this and got an internet plan from my cell phone company, then my sharing station will pull up and they can get all their pictures because I went and put an internet plan on my iPad.
Yes, you can share either way. So yes, if you have an internet service or cellular service on your sharing station and you're connected to that internet or Wi-Fi, then they'll be able to text, airdrop, scan the QR code, etc. Whatever sharing processes you enable. But again, your questions are also more suited for if you go and click the links in the chat and watch a previous webinar.
Okay.
That all of that is covered. Mm-hmm.
And then if the event place has internet and I connect my sharing station to their internet, then it'll be fine if it's reliable.
If it's reliable, yes.
Yeah, so this
Okay.
is going to touch base on this last question, okay? So I'm going to do exactly what you just stated, but I just want you to keep in mind, if you guys can mute yourself, that'd be great too. I just want you guys to keep in mind that when you say I'm going to go get a cellular connection on my iPad, those are the things that sometimes you need to understand that are not going to work for you, because we in the event industry do events all across different venues, different halls. We do them up in the cuts, in the mountainside, and that signal is only going to be as good as your cell provider. So no matter if you have you're paying a fee for that, you're just going to have to really understand that if you don't have a good, reliable signal, your stuff is not going to go out. So this is why we're doing this modified version of Scanpix, because so specifically for the GoPro user, I'm going to give you a real live scenario here. I got my iPhone here set up. I got my iPad over here set up, right? If I click on the iPad, this is my iPad set up right here. So what I want to do right now is, for the GoPro user that was on the call, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into settings, right? And once I go into settings, I'm going to toggle over to camera, and I'm actually going to use the GoPro. I'm going to click connect. My GoPro comes up. When the GoPro comes up, if you guys have an open mic, if you don't mind just going on mute, I'm going to hit join network. My GoPro's right here. And it
Please, can everyone mute your line?
There we go. Got it. Thank you. So it just connected to that specific GoPro. So now what I want you to understand is that this iPhone, or if it was an iPad, is married to that GoPro. Nothing else can be connected via Wi-Fi unless you do have a cell signal, right? But only the cell signal. If you look at my cell signal right now, I'm running on airplane mode. It's my signal could be a 1 bar and it still wouldn't go upload to the library. So now I'm going to go over to Touchpix again, hit go back, right? I'm going to go over to Touchpix here on my iPad. I'm going to ignore that AirPlay right now, and I'm going to go into Gallery, click on the S, activate receiver, go over to my iPhone, go into Gallery, S, activate sender. It's looking at my iPad, and it says success. I'm good to go, right? So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to create a quick little test video here. I'm going to click start. My GoPro's going to record my room. So this is how it's going to look. You see my GoPro start. It's recording. My GoPro's recording. My GoPro recorded. GoPro settings need to be at 1080 by 120. Those are your GoPro settings. It's downloading the content. I don't know what effects I have. This is just a generic event that I created, I think, at the last webinar. This is a screensaver here that pops up as well for Scanpix. This is just a screensaver. If your guests forget to grab their video for whatever reason, right? The thing that you can do is just tap on the screen and it converts back to a sharing station. So now they're going to be able to pick their thumbnail file and either shoot it via text message, email. You know, it's not connected to the internet right now because it's connected to the router that doesn't have internet connection. But whenever the case may be that you do connect to an internet connection, then they'll be receiving their files. So this is kind of like a backup way for them to receive their files, right? They can come get the QR code, right? Or if I go over here to it's the receiver's on, so it's going to take a couple seconds for that video to show up. You see that the R is green, which means that the sharing station is currently active. I'm now waiting for the thumbnail to shoot on over to this device, and there it is, right? This is the little session I did for my room right now. You can see I'm in San Diego, Legoland, just doing a quick little Touchpix webinar, right? So again, they can text the number, right, wherever you want it to go. And once you do that, I'm just gonna hit send, or it's an error because I didn't put the full number. Let me just send it to one of my lines. It's set sent, right? So then you're good. You can actually hit done, or you can have your client scan this 2 QR code system here. And now let's test if it works. Now that I'm using a separate device, it should technically work without any hiccups. Let me grab my phone real quick and see if it makes sense for a lot of people. Okay, so this is what I'm gonna do now. I'm gonna grab my phone. Ideally, this is the guest here going up to the sharing kiosk, clicking to join the network, right? Once they join the network, you're gonna go ahead and go here to the second QR code. And once you do that, look at, bam, it takes you straight to your gallery. And there's that video that I just did right now. And if you look up here, but you know, it lets you, the information that you filled in on the back end, it actually allows your guests to keep your information as a contact. So whenever they want to hire somebody for a 360 booth, they can just hit this contact, and it's going to save onto their phone with that number that I put in on the back end, which is great. If they want to retrieve the file, they're going to tap to download, and it's going to ask you to download right on the spot. This is without internet connection. Download. You see that little arrow down there? It downloaded extremely fast. It's done, right? So now what they're going to do is click on their downloads. There it is, and there's that video I did right now without let me see, so you can save it onto your video without any internet connection. Here we go. Sorry, it's hard to do with one hand, but just trying to show you guys exactly what it's about. Again, I have big hands. Give me a sec. There's your gallery, download it for a third time. Sorry here. Just trying to hit that download button there. It downloads. There it is. There's your video. Extremely fast, right? Now they get to save it onto the camera roll. You hit that bottom up arrow, save video, and now it's in their camera roll. Super easy. This is super effective. $50 is going to get you out of a big jam from going to an event and solely relying on your hotspot, or guaranteeing delivery of every video by just investing $60 and utilizing this technique at every single event. And like I said, like the gentleman who was on this call earlier and asked, what if they forget to download their video and those 4 video limits are no longer showing their video? Simple, just have them go to their sharing station, tap on the video, find their video from the gallery, and then send it to themselves via text message. Super simple. For those people that forgot, they'll get their video. It might be delayed, but they'll definitely get it. So do you guys have any questions with this technique? As you can see, it worked marvelously right now. Did that make sense for a lot of people?
Yeah, I have a question.
Sure.
So every time, so when the next person gets up, it'll be a new QR code, correct?
No, it's the same QR code.
Oh, it's the same QR code.
Same QR code. You're just limiting the gallery.
It's the same QR code for Scanpix.
Correct.
So if you use the the traditional sharing option and you select the QR code option for sharing, then that QR code is just for that video. But these QR codes for Scanpix will allow you to view the video gallery.
Does that make sense?
So does the whole gallery show up when
No.
you scan the second QR code, or
No,
just
no,
the first one?
you have the control. Again, I'm going to go over it real quick. You have the control to set that up, right? The control is, I'm going to exit off that real quick. When you're setting up Scanpix on the back end, go into settings, go back over here where it says web gallery, web server. The control is right here where it says activate photo limit. Mine's set to 4, so they're only going to see the last 4 videos. You can put 20, you can put 30, or you can put 2 videos or 1. You tell it how many videos you want them to have access to when they scan, right? 4 just means it'll be the 4 most recent videos that they'll have access to. So obviously, as the night goes on, those last 4 are going to switch. There's not going to be the same video, and they're not going to be able to get videos from the entire gallery. You're just putting a limit as to when they're able to get their video. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yes.
It'll
So
make
if
more
they-
sense when I do it. I'm sorry, Chad.
If they do have a smoke break and come back, they will have to come to the sharing station and click on their video and just send a text to their phone.
Exactly. So always encourage them to grab it on the spot. A lot of
Right.
these people, anyways, when you know, if they forget, a lot of them might have iPhones anyway, so you can just go here, tap on their video, and send it to them via AirDrop, and they'll get it on the spot. Right? It's the Android users that sometimes we worry about, because there is still a lot of Android users out there. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yes. So with
right.
the Android users, they just need to send a text.
Yeah,
Correct.
they can, or they can still use Scanpix.
Okay.
And I'm going to see if I can actually power up this Android real quick and get it going. I do have
But
an
if the Android user went for a smoke break and came back, then they missed their QR code, so they will have to just text it to themselves, right?
Well, so you sound like a new user. So I would recommend that you go and look at the links that I put for previous webinars, because if you don't use Scanpix, there's an option for you to connect to your internet source or whatever. And for Android users, we recommend texting, or you can scan a QR code that's generated just for that video.
Okay, this is an Android right here. Look, this is a Motorola phone. It doesn't have service right now, but I'm going to see if it works with Android. Let me see here. I'm going to join that network. I'm going to wait for it to connect. Once it connects to that network, now I'm going to scan the second QR code. Haven't used this Android in a while, so probably has a lot of notifications up there. But I've tested this with this Android. I've tested it with numerous other Androids, and I don't have any issues connecting to the web server as long as the web server is active and ready to go. I'm just going to verify. See, it's connected to the wrong Wi-Fi right now, so I just want to make sure. That's the problem. Sometimes because I do these webinars, I have a lot of different Wi-Fis that I'm using, and they auto connect to one another. So I want to connect it to that specific network. I'm just going to do it manually. I'm going to verify that it's okay. You see how it says connected, no internet? That's where I want to be at. And I'm going to go into my camera app. And now I'm going to scan that second QR code. Now I'm going to go into that. There it is. See how I pulled up that? And for this, do the same thing off an Android, tap to download. And now taking you to downloads. Androids are much easier to download files, and now it's there. Open it. Again, this is all happening from an Android. And there it is, playing the video. So it works with iPhones and Androids, guaranteed delivery, $60 investment will get you guys out of a huge, huge, huge bind in the event that you guys are charging money and you guys feel like, you know, well, Touchpix isn't sending it. A lot of the time, it's not Touchpix's fault, you know, and this is why we're doing this webinar this way today, because again, it's the end users. You got to be more in tune of where you're at, right? If you're in an area where there's bad signal, no Wi-Fi, or the venue Wi-Fi is just horrendous, then you know you're going to look bad as a business owner. I'm trying to help you not look bad by just making a $60 investment, follow this webinar, get this set up. Once you set this thing up once or twice, it's going to be automatic moving forward. I know a lot of people get intimidated when there's new steps, but this step is going to actually save you, save your reputation, and make you look a lot more professional, because not a lot of people can share without the use of any internet connection. And the fact that Touchpix allows you to do that free of charge and doesn't charge you an added fee for that, why not take advantage of that? Why not use it? It's going to save your reputation in the 360 booth world. You know what I mean? You never want to be out there not being able to deliver files. But if you are, there's backup ways on doing that. Just know that you're trying to avoid, being one of those photo booth providers that isn't able to deliver on the spot. This is going to save you. So real quick, as you saw that I texted a phone number over to my phone and I don't have internet connection. I want you to look at this. I'm going to exit the sharing station here. And on the menu, I'm going to tap on menu and then go over to queue. It's red, right? It's red. It says 1 SMS is pending. That's because it's not connected to the internet, right? But look what happens, right? Look what happens when I do decide to connect it to the internet. I'm now going to connect to the internet through my hotspot. It's connected to now my Verizon, right? I can either wait a couple of minutes here, or I can actually hit send out SMS, right? That's what I'm going to tap on. So if you have a list of SMS, you can always hit send out if it's just SMS related, or if it's just email related, or send out your queue. Pretty soon, both of these are going to turn into, there should be a green. It's going to be sending them out once the connection is established. And like I said, I'm at a hotel right now. There's a lot of, I can't connect to the hotel venue because this hotel where I'm at specifically, I tried it earlier. It has a lot of security restrictions. Although it's an open network, it's not going to let me send. And I do have a Verizon hotspot. It's not the best right now, but it's actually getting through this webinar better than what I thought. But my signal bars were probably 3. I usually like to operate with 4 or 5 if I can, and kind of go from there. But in the event that you're stuck somewhere and people are sending out their text messages, always look at your queue. Always look at your queue, figure out whether or not they're sending, they haven't sent, or what the status is. Right now it says status stopped, right? That's the current status. What I'm going to do is I'm going to exit the app, right? By minimizing, flick up. Now I'm going to open up the app one more time. It's asking me for that screen mirror. I'm going to go over to queue. Now that it's connected, it says status, uploading photos. That's what I want to see. So I know that, it's doing its job. It's trying to upload onto the web gallery now. And I'm just going to wait for it to turn green. Should be turning green depending on your internet speed. For internet speed, I think Tia put something in the chat. There's a tool. There's actually an on-site speed tester now within our app that'll give you an idea of how fast your internet needs to be for this to turn or for this to upload quicker. The higher the upload speed, the quicker it's going to be for you to upload onto your web gallery, which means that people that have text messaged themselves or sent themselves email will get the link working shortly. But you have to verify that this area here, you need to clear it. These need to be green before they're being sent out. How many people that are on this call have actually looked in this area or were aware that this is how this works? Is there quite a bit, or is this something that's new to a lot of people?
I had no idea.
See how it just turned green? You see how it turned green?
Yeah.
Right. So that's what you wanted to. That's what you wanted to do. It's still, it's loading into the web gallery. Everything's still doing. Everything turns green, we're good. I have 0 SMS pending. That means everything's been sent out. You want to see 0 pending on all of these, right? In that gallery pending 0. That means once you see zeros, that means everything has sent out. Every now and then you may see 1 or 2 that never get cleared, but the probability of that is because maybe somebody typed in the wrong phone number and it's just not being sent. It can't be delivered. But you shouldn't see this outrageous amount of numbers not matching your gallery. So just wanted to point this out there, like Touchpix has a lot of features. Again, it's a very powerful app. You just saw me working the GoPro with my iPhone and having this as a sharing station, right? It's super easy to use, but you have to practice. You can't just show up at events and expect to, have no issues if you haven't practiced, right? If you haven't practiced, you may have issues. So this is why we do these webinars, and this is why we try to educate you with certain things as far as how to troubleshoot, where to go, where to clear your gallery, where to clear the pending, and try to keep it moving forward. That way your business doesn't get a bad name, and you continue to be reputable and continue to do awesome events. That's all. That makes sense?
Absolutely.
Cool. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to speed through a quick setup for the new people. I apologize if this took a lot of time. I know it did, but I'm going to try to speed through a new, I'm not going to go through the Apple TV today, but you can see any of the other webinars and it'll show you how to sync it, but I'll show you how to do an event from scratch if you're a brand new user. Okay. Here we go. Let's get started with this. All right, I'm trying to get you guys to see my actual computer screen. And let's start with that. Okay. So Touchpix, this is Touchpix webinar. I started this. Typically, this is how I start with the Touchpix stuff. If you're brand new to Touchpix, I hope I didn't scare you off. I'm just really trying to emphasize on educating people more on the moderate to the advanced level part of Touchpix. But it's always important for you guys to learn why your stuff isn't working. And it's not the app. I guarantee you the app works great. And we're very transparent, like we were this last weekend where we had a glitch. It was a small glitch, but we understand, there's frustrations out there, and we always urge you guys to call us at the support line. But Touchpix is an app that you purchase through the iOS platform, right? So for people that have never utilized Touchpix, download it from the App Store. Once you download it from your app store, you're going to come over to the web interface. The web interface needs to be done. We always recommend you starting it from a computer. There's some great stuff I'm gonna show you guys today, and this is brand new stuff that just came out. So I want you guys to really be excited about it because it's going to save you guys. At the end of the day, it's going to save you guys a lot of money, specifically for those that pay for designers to design certain things. So once you download the app on your phone, you're going to have, there's 3 choices. You can buy the weekly, and I'm going to go into the pricing here. I'm hoping you guys are able to see the, my webpage here. The weekly is $50. It's tied to your Apple subscription, just like Spotify, just like Netflix. You got to cancel it whenever you're not using it, but we're not tying you to a contract. If you buy the weekly, you're on for a week. It will charge you for the following week unless you stop it. This is subscription based. Very important for you guys to take a note on that. The monthly, it's $140 a month. Same thing. This is for more experienced boothers that they offer more than just a 360 booth. They may offer some drop-off iPad booths, some photo booths with prints. Touchpix is also photo booth software, so this makes sense for people that are a little bit more established. People who run legitimate businesses that have maybe 6, 7, 8, 9 booths. I have like 10, 11 booths now. And, typically this is a plan that I go with because I have a lot of booths and I can use them all at the same time. So it really depends where you're at, but by no means is one better than the other. They all do the exact same thing. This one's just more affordable on the front end, but on the long end, if you're a business owner, this saves you a lot of money instead of going week by week or month by month. So those are the plans. Once you establish what plan you want from the app, you make the purchase on the App Store. We'll show you how to do that in a bit. But what I want you guys to learn is that everything is created on a computer for now. I don't care if you have a Windows computer or a Mac computer, as long as it's a computer. Yes, you can kind of do it from a tablet, but I'm not going to show you how to do that because it gets a little complicated, and I want you guys to learn how to do it right before you venture off to a tablet setting, right? So I always start from a computer, Windows or Mac. The reason I say that is because what I want you guys to do also is on your desktop, I want you guys to create a Touchpix folder. In my case, I created a folder called Touchpix Files. In this folder, I have a lot of different, designs that I can use. And in this case, I'll use our Expo files. And I'm going to change the view that way you guys can see. These are my templates that I use for photo boothing. They're slow motion. Some of these are for the iPad booth, for your strips for iPad booth. But for slow motion, I can use a square, right? So just know that create a folder because that's where you're going to dump your artwork in the event that you have somebody else make that for you, right? Then we're going to go back online, and what you're going to do is click on my account. I'm going to log off of my account real quick so you guys can see it from scratch. I'm going to log off, and what's important for you guys to realize is if you're brand new, you need to register with your name, last name, and preferably use an email address associated to your Apple ID account on that device. Now, please, this next scenario happens quite a bit where a person is barely coming into the business and they're using their personal devices or their personal iCloud accounts to register. If you're going to use this for business use, which I would imagine a lot of you will be using it for business use, create yourself a separate Apple ID account. That way your personal pictures are not being followed through in the event that you scale up and you start adding more devices. You don't want your attendants, you don't want people working for you to have access to a lot of those pictures or some personal information because it's tied to your personal iCloud account. Create a new one that you can log in and log out, and have Touchpix under that business account. So register with whatever Apple ID you're going to create for that device. After that, you're going to log in. Once you log in, this is your dashboard, right? You're going to live in this category up here of create an event and designer. We're going to start with create an event. There's a couple of options. There's one that's called a preset. The preset, I don't go into detail. It's kind of like a cheat code to me. It's not going to help you understand the software, but it's there in the event that you're in a pinch and you need to get an event up and going. This is a 3-click process on getting up and going. The reason I don't teach this event how to use it this way is because it's catered to Touchpix. It has Touchpix logos. It has Touchpix files. And I don't think that's very useful for a lot of you because you want to brand it. If you're paying Touchpix, the brand, you're going to want to put your logos, your information, and you don't want it to be, Touchpix and having Touchpix set up, their own music and their own logos. So this is why I don't teach the presets. I teach how to do a custom event. I'm going to go back, or let me see, I see this bar up here. I teach it this way: create a custom event because it walks you through every process. Touchpix, all it is, it's a big form. You're telling the software what you want to do. So what you're going to want to do on this event, you're going to name it. Name it, I'm going to name this webinar Scanpix. It just helps you identify what event you're working with. Language is English, country is USA. This is important. Always put wherever your country of origin is. It affects text messaging. Countdown. Countdown is like any other photo booth. If you've ever walked into a photo booth, it takes 4 seconds of countdown, and then it'll take the actual picture. Same thing with Touchpix. It'll give you 4 seconds, unless you want to adjust it to a lesser time. But after that countdown, then it starts recording. So for slow motion, I typically like to set it at 2. The beep sound just means that every second you'll have an auditory sound, okay? So the beep sound is really not important. You could enable it, disable it, really doesn't really matter, right? The mirror overlay preview doesn't really matter. It's a photo booth feature. This mirror overlay, all it does is if you ever walk into a photo booth and you're lined up on the right side and you can see the live view, on the live view, you look like you're on the left side. It has that mirror effect. This is a photo booth feature. Don't worry about it. You're not going to use it for 360. Okay. Then the next step is, what device are you using? Are you using an iPhone? We recommend iPhone 11, 12, 13. Any of those models. It doesn't matter if it's the regular Pro or Pro Max. They all work wonderful. But we do offer a recommendation of 11, 12, or 13 because they have a good rear camera that has an ultra wide lens, and it's capable of recording at a high slow motion, high frame rate, 120 frames per second. You can also use a GoPro from 6 all the way to 10. Obviously, I recommend the GoPro 10 because it's the fastest GoPro and it's the most recent GoPro. But 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 is what we recommend, and it needs to be the black edition. The black edition is what makes the difference between that specific model and maybe the white or the silver model. The white and the silver model don't have the ability to record at a high frame per second, 120 frames. So you want 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, black edition GoPro, right? I'm going to use the rear camera because for the iPhones, we recommend the rear camera. The rear camera is the best camera. Doesn't matter what your front camera can see, the rear camera is where the quality comes from. The exposure menu. Exposure menu just means if you're not up to date with lighting, right, you're going to need to access the exposure control to ensure that you're able to bump up the exposure or the ISO in the event that your lighting is still looking a little dim. You want to be able to access those control features, so enable it. The QR app protection, leave it off. This is for drop-off photo booths, so people can't tamper with the back end settings of Touchpix. This doesn't matter for slow motion. We're not doing any printing, but make sure you set it to no printing. Functions, we're not worried about photos. We're not worried about boomerangs, GIFs, or videos. We're only worried about slow motion video, right? The slow-mo recording time, it's set to 4.5. That typically is the recommended setting. You can go longer. If you go longer, you're going to have a little bit longer output. But this is what we recommend. This is what most people use. 4.5 or 5 seconds is what most people use. You play around to figure out, where your sweet spot is. It doesn't mean that your video is going to be 4.5 seconds. It just means that slow-mo is only going to record for 4.5 seconds. And Touchpix is going to add the slow-mo effect. That's going to end up being about a 14, 15-second video at the end, right? And if you add a promotional video at the end, it adds another 8 seconds. So it can be over 20 seconds if that's what you want. But if you want something a little higher, with the video a little longer, you can always increase the speed. So I'm going to leave it at default of 4.5. And I'm going to add a slow-mo boomerang. What the slow-mo boomerang effect does is once it processes the video, it adds a slow motion effect. Right when the video ends, at the very end, it flips it in reverse and it plays it back in reverse order. It's actually a very cool effect. I like it, so I'm going to enable it. This is one of 3 areas here where it's going to allow you to use a MP3 file, an audio file. Please take note that we only take MP3 files and it can't exceed that file size. A typical MP3 song is only about 3 or 4 megabytes in size for a 3.5-minute song, right? Please note it needs to be an MP3 file. I get a lot of calls, or we get a lot of calls saying, hey, how come I can't load up my Apple Music tracks on here? Apple does a really good job against anti-piracy, and they changed their format where it's not an MP3 file, it's an M4A, and our system is not compatible. We are a legitimate company. We try to teach ways not only to be successful, but to protect you from being sued as well. If you use a mainstream song, top 40 radio play, there's a chance that you can get hit with a cease and desist. There's people in the industry that have gotten not only sued, but they've gotten threatened by record labels because you're trying to profit off their content. And you can get a mainstream song licensed. However, it costs thousands and thousands of dollars to do so, and it's not really worth it for what we're trying to achieve here. So there's a lot of resources that Tia put in the chat where you can get royalty-free music, right? You can pay a couple bucks, and actually Touchpix gives you 14 free tracks that are built in to our software. But if you do have an MP3 song that you got from somewhere, you can click choose file. And in my case, I'm going to go over to Touchpix. I think I have a folder called Touchpix files. That might be it. Let's go with, why am I not seeing it? Oh, this is a different computer. Okay, so I'm gonna go with this Latin joint because I know I grabbed that one for free off a royalty-free music site. You can load it there. Down here, there's an area for screen flash. This is a photo booth function. You don't need to enable it. Leave it disabled. These are timeouts. These represent number of seconds. For photo booth, where editing is important because you want to add stickers and props, you know, this is why these numbers are there. But for slow motion, we want to speed through as many sessions as possible. So set them to 0, with the exception of sharing. Sharing needs to have some time. Leave it at 12. All of these other numbers will speed through your process quicker with Touchpix. So leave it at 0, 0, 0, 12. Okay. As we scroll down, these are your sharing options. And like I mentioned before, I use email. I don't use Facebook. I do use WhatsApp because it's an international feature that works just like text. SMS is text messaging. I do not use Twitter. I don't use copy, and I'll leave everything else on. AirDrop on, individual QR code. If you do have good internet, leave it on. This QR code will give you a specific QR code for each video session that's different, right? So it's not like we talked about with Scanpix. That QR code will allow you to get a QR code for a different video file. Internet needs to be pretty good for that to work, but it does work great if you're in that good situation. Download is very important too, and I'll explain why. Always leave download checked off. A lot of iPhone users, when they receive the text message to their phone, right, you're not actually getting the video texted to that phone. You get what's called a link. The link is tied to the web server that we use, right? And if you tap on the link and you're an iPhone user, Safari is the default web browser that Apple uses. And if you don't tap on download here, you're not going to be able to download it from the Safari web browser. This download forces a download button to appear on the Safari web browser to access the download for that specific link. Okay, so it's important for you to include download. Any of these options work great. The other important part is this in-app gallery. This controls your sharing station. This always needs to be on. This is how you share. Edit screen is not important. Again, it has to do with props. It has to do with video effects and stickers. So it doesn't need to be checked off, okay? As we scroll down, these are customizable. This is your subject heading. So if a person decides they want to share via email, you can put your business name here. You can put a default text email. I usually keep these very identical to one another. I usually just cut and paste my message, right click, copy, and paste it onto all the other ones. Obviously, I change out where it says Touchpix and put my business name, but I like to keep my stuff very consistent, and that's the way I do it. You can speed through it, put in your specific business info. Just know that on the text messaging side, don't use any special characters, don't use any dashes. If you're going to put your phone number, it's fine. Just put the numerical phone. Don't use dash, don't use dots, don't use pounds, and don't use @. You know, it'll help us out in the long run to avoid your message from being flagged as spam, right? That's why now you see a consent box when you're sending somebody a text message, because now we need to get individual consent. That way these messages don't get flagged as spam, okay? Once we scroll down, we're not worried about props. And the branding section. We're here at the branding section. The branding section is where you can actually customize it to represent your specific logo, right? In my case, the branding section, you can add whatever logo you put on here, it's going to be on your sharing station, right? So if I were to put a logo on there, it'll be on my sharing station. Whatever logo you put on here will appear, as you guys saw my phone earlier, it had like a generic Instagram logo behind the Touchpix controls. Whatever logo comes in here will reside behind the Touchpix controls. A lot of people use their brand, their logo from their business. It just sets more a customized look to your setup. Whatever logo you put on here, when you give a client a link to access their web gallery, whatever logo is inserted here, that logo is going to live behind that web gallery. So if it's the name of your business, when you give that client the web gallery, they're not only going to see their web gallery, they're going to see your logo on the background, right? It's like a background screensaver. And a track screen. This is typically not used for 360. It's more used for photo booths. So ignore the track screen for now. This is more used for photo booths. The important part here to kind of, just give it some perspective is to follow these guidelines down here. I like to work with PNG files. If you guys can, I'll make a recommendation that you guys strictly work with PNG files because it keeps it more streamlined, it's consistent, and your overlays are also PNG files, and that way you don't mix and match. So I'm going to choose an app logo. I'm going to see if I have somewhat of a generic one in this folder. I'll use mine for now. And I'm going to use it on all locations. I like to use the same logo on all my locations, right? Web Gallery 2, same logo on all my locations. As I hover over this logo, you can see that it's a PNG file, and you can see the file is actually very small, 512 by 512. I recommend that you stay within 3000 by 3000, anything less. Those are in pixels, okay? The 512 is in pixels, so 3000 by 3000, you'll be okay. Save it as a PNG and load it on all three of your locations. If my logo was white, I'd want to change my buttons and my text to be a different color. That way it doesn't clash or it doesn't camouflage. I can click on this box and maybe have my lettering red or have my lettering blue if that's what I want, right? Whatever I want. In this case, I'll just leave it at, I'll leave it at white because I know my stuff's not going to clash. Motion trigger. Somebody talked about earlier with a question. Motion trigger, a lot of people use it, a lot of people don't. Really depends on what you have. A lot of iPhone users use it in the sense that they have automatic spinners. Once they place the phone on the arm, right, and they enable motion trigger, by them clicking on their remote for their automatic spinner, the app is going to detect that the iPhone has started moving on the arm, and it starts the app. It'll start their countdown, then the recording process. That way you're not pressing start on the app and on the remote. It eliminates, just one part of you pressing start. It'll just start with your on and off button from your remote. I don't use it personally. I like to kind of always try to go for that same location where I start my arm, and hopefully all my videos reflect consistency. But I know a lot of people use it. If it works for you, it's more of a preference and workflow thing. Try it out, see if you like it. And if you don't, you can always check it off and disable it. External screen.
Quick question.
Sure.
Sorry, for the motion trigger, if it's off, how do you start it then, the actual recording?
Yeah, so you just press start on your phone on the screen.
Won't there be a delay if you press start? Like
No, because there's a countdown, right? So typically the way I would do it, the way I normally do it, because I'm not a trigger user, I hit start, and then when my countdown hits 1, that's when I press the on button for my automatic spinner, right? So whatever countdown, however length of countdown you have yours set up to, know that that's your buffer time. So you can actually see the countdown going down. Once it hits 1, I just hit start on my remote, and you're good to go.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. The external session, this is if you're using an Apple TV. I normally cover this, but I'm not going to cover it today based on time constraints. But if you're interested on using your Apple TV, look at any of my other webinars. Tia linked my YouTube channel. You can scroll to the end and see how they communicate. After you do this, you're going to hit I agree, and you're going to submit. And basically, this is how you set up an event. It took me a while, but it's not going to take you this long. Once you get into the practice and habit, it shouldn't take you more than 4-5 minutes at the most to actually go through the process. This is the very last step here, is going to the designer. I want to show something off today, brand new. For people that have been using the designer in the past, you know, we've heard you. You know, it's a little, you know, there's a lot of limits of what you can design on your own without having to pay somebody to design something pretty fancy. But I want you guys to check this out real quick. If you go to designer, if you look at the new beta designer, it simplifies the way you design a project. In my case, it's giving you, what am I designing, a video or a photo booth template? I'm a video user for Touchpix, right? And I'm going to use a square template. Square number 1 and number 2 are pretty popular based on Instagram. Number 1 is Instagram Reel for the reel size. Number 2 is Instagram Post, right? It's a perfect square. Those are pretty popular. But you also have your landscape template 3, your template 4, which is ultra wide, and template 5, which is a cropped out version of template 1. Once you decide which one you're using, in my case, I'll use template 2. I'm going to go ahead and select it. Then I'm going to go over to the drop-down menu up here. And this is the one that I just named, Webinar Scanpix. Point it to the right event that you're designing it for. And you can either hit use template, right? Once you hit use template, what you can do now is go, this is the awesome part, wait for it. Go to manage design and manage, or go over to design library. And check this out, for people that are paying a lot of money to get stuff made because they might not have the art skills, you now have all of these free. All of these are fully, you're able to edit any of these fully, right? Depending on theme. So if I wanted a filter, if I wanted a birthday one, I just hit birthday, right? If I wanted, if I wanted a wedding, look at, now it just tells me wedding, right? These are all nicely, tastefully done. Like they're done with a lot of good taste, right? They're not just something that was just put together by people with no design background, right? Tastefully done.
Added those.
Did you say free?
Free.
I like free.
It's on Touchpix now?
Yeah, well,
yes, it's in the designer, in the beta version.
This is the beta.
It's lovely.
Nice.
I'm telling you, this is so good. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I literally almost paid someone.
Hey, I need.
So when y'all see people asking why Touchpix so expensive, which it isn't, you know, let them know about these type of features.
It's worth the money.
Yes.
I love Touchpix.
Man,
Question: can you remove backgrounds from photos?
Yes, we can. We can remove background from photos now, and it doesn't require internet to do it either. So I'll go over that in a separate webinar, but yes, you can. We can definitely do that. For this
I got a
case,
question.
Go ahead.
This is so nice.
So when you do a video, are you able to, so a lot of people say, like, if you have like people in the background, like you can section off a space, but you still can see like people in the background sometimes. Do you have a way to edit those people out or no?
No, that really depends on the template that you're using, but you know, more than likely, it just really depends on how your setup is. I would have to look at your videos to get a better sense of how you shoot. You know, a lot of this is trial and error. You're always going to get people in the background. Sometimes they're just going to be more noticeable than others, depending on your angle of your arm, depending on your pivot point, depending on, you know, the shot. There's a lot of variants, that play into this. So, just play with it a little bit. And if you really want some one-on-one help on that, send us an email of what you got and we can better guide you. But without really knowing your style or your vibe, it's kind of hard for me to recommend what you need to do.
Okay.
All right. So from any of these, what you want to do is click on these templates and look, boom, it loads it, right?
Man.
And now I can edit in here by going to text, right? And you can still pick any of these texts. We added some more in there, right? We added some more, and then you can type in whatever you want. Test. This is a test. I'm gonna hit done. You gotta be careful because I gotta delete the other one here. You can delete.
Free.
Yeah, for sure. The test. Yeah. So, and this is another big feature here, right? If you're like working on an event and you just you do it in pieces where you're not sure because you're talking to that client and you don't know what they want, instead of doing this all over again, you can actually save it as a preset, and now you can save this to work on it at a later time, right? So you can go ahead and save as a preset and name this maybe whatever event. Let's call it Scanpix event, right? I can always come back to that without having a worry if it's going to be erased or not, right? So now I'm going to erase. Let me see if I can erase it. So now let's just erase everything just to see if I can load it. This is actually the first time I'm doing this live, so hopefully it works like it should. And let's go load preset. And there it is, see?
Yep.
There it is, boom. So you save it, now you don't have to worry about, man, do I have to redesign everything all over again? Because our other designing was a little clunky. And then once you're done and you want to figure out, how to load it, then you're going to add it to your event. Right? You're going to add to event, and it's already added, and you're ready to move on, and you're good to go. So the next step is now just let's log out real quick. Okay. I'm just going to go back in Touchpix. Give me a sec here.
While you're doing that, can I ask another question?
Sure.
So when you're doing the selections in the dashboard, like where you go and select like all the settings and stuff, where you do the music.
Mm-hmm.
And then so that music is set into when you go to the Touchpix app. Can you change that actual song that you put into the settings?
Yeah. So look,
on the app.
I'm gonna do it on the fly right now. So now that I added everything right to that, what I'm gonna do is I went back over to my account under events. This is where I'm at, and I'm gonna go here where it says QR code. But now it's telling me that it has an overlay, so I'm good. So all I want is the QR code. So hold your thought. I'm gonna do it on the fly right now. Let me go back and screen mirror my phone, and then we'll conclude this with that. Let me see. I got the right phone. No, this is not the right phone. Give me a sec. I wonder, can you pull it up? Let me see. I thought you guys were going to get excited about Scanpix the same way you guys got excited about these overlays. But let's see what we
I just think we have a lot of beginners, so they haven't fully grasped.
No,
Scanpix.
I know. It's just kind of. I'm just kind of a poor joke.
But once they get it, they'll be excited.
Well, I'm ecstatic. I'm shit. Woo.
I'm ecstatic. I'm ecstatic.
Because I catch hell at these events. I don't know where you guys at, but in Baltimore, these people want their videos now.
Yeah, I don't think it's a Baltimore issue. I think it's just a really now it's a society issue where information, you know, it needs to happen now, or
Yep.
else there's just yeah,
All these social media kings and queens.
yeah. But you know, let me see. Let's see what we can do. Am I sharing my screen or no? Oh yeah, yeah. Okay. Okay, perfect. You guys are able to see that. Okay, so this is where I'm at. I'm gonna open my camera. You guys are able to see my phone, correct?
Yep.
Okay, I'm gonna open my camera. I took a picture of that QR code because obviously my computer is, oh, that's not what I was trying to do. I was trying to go over to Touchpix. There we go.
There you go.
Oh, bear with me. I gotta delete that real quick.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, let me install it real quick. I try to keep these webinars shorter now, but it seems like there's so much
But
going
it's a
on.
lot of for me, it's a lot of good information.
Right on. Well, I'm glad because it makes it worth our while. I think it is a lot of information, but I know sometimes it's a lot to deliver all at once, you know. And you know, like today, it was just kind of one of those things that I wanted to address Scanpix and wanted to address the ability of you guys having the skills and feeling confident on how to, you know, set that up. And, you know, you guys already investing in yourselves by, you know, starting a business, buying a platform, buying lights, buying all of these extras, now coming over to us. And, you know, we want to help in executing your game plan, but we also want you guys to take time sometimes to step back and really figure out, you know, how well you know the software to execute it in the way it should be done every single weekend. But I guess that comes with time as well. So
Every event. Oh, go ahead.
So here we go. I just started. I'm gonna activate that QR code. I just took a picture of it because I wanted you guys to see. There's that logo, and forgive it, it wasn't the logo I was trying to use, but you know, it just gives you perspective. As it's probably skewed, but gives you perspective. So once you scan into your event, first thing you need to do is hit that hamburger icon top left, go into settings. If you look at the fifth option down now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it says compression, alt UHQ. That's where it needs to be, right? Then you need to scroll over to the right till you see camera. In this case, I'm using the rear camera. At the very bottom, there's some rectangles. I'm going to go with the third rectangle, lens type. Set it to ultra wide, hit done. And then the slow-mo speed right above, hit OK. I understood. Slow-mo speed. You need to adjust it to 1920 by 1080, the first option, by 120 frames per second. That's true slow motion. Once it's set to that point, you're going to move your camera to the right again. Photo effects, we want to go into video effects, right? So this is your video effects. And for the person that was requesting information on that audio track that I loaded, as you can see, it has an audio track that I already loaded, right? Maybe I don't want to use that. I don't want to use that audio track. I changed my mind. I don't want to have my computer in front of me. I'm at an event and I want to add a separate track that I already have on my phone. What I can do is go here, select audio from the gray box. You see that window that just opened up at the bottom? I'm going to hit delete.
Yep.
And it's gone. These are the files that Touchpix gives you for free. Again, we're giving away for free 14 free tracks. So if you hit add effect, and when you hit add effect, I'm going to scroll to where it says music, click done. Now you see music pop up in that gray box. I'm going to click on the music tab there, and it's telling you in order to use this effect, we need to download files. Hit OK, and Touchpix is downloading 14 free tracks. They're all feel-good tracks specifically for slow motion use. And there you go. You got 14 free tracks that you can choose from. I'm going to choose track 1. It's already loaded, right? So now I get to go pick my whatever other effects I want to use. I'm going to go and hit add effect, and I'm going to use this black and white portrait, hit done. I'm also going to tap on the black and white portrait once it's in the gray box. You're going to see that timeline that opens up at the bottom where the number 0 and the number 1 is. That's telling me that the black and white portrait effect is applied at the entire video. I don't want that. I want it only to be applied at a certain portion of the video. So I'm going to move it to the right, 0.25. And in the left one, I'm moving it to the left. I want it at 0.4. That's the only place I want that effect to be applied. I could add a different effect if I want, but I'm not going to. I'm going to add my promotional video at the end. And the way I do that is right here where it says post roll next to the gray box. I'm going to click on post roll. You're going to have whoever designs your design for your overlay, if you get a design, or if you want somebody to design it for you, you're going to have to send it to a graphics animator, and maybe have your logo be graphics animated. I'm going to click on post roll. I have my design under files, and I called it intro, but it's really called an outro. It's on my phone. Well, that's not the one I want to use. That's not the right size. Let me see if I can access a different one. I also have a lot of designs on my Dropbox, but it's not updated. Let's roll with that. It's not going to look good, but it'll give you an idea of how to use it. Because the one that I wanted to use is for template 3. So what I wanted to be clear with is I'm using template 2 for this specific example. It's a square. If you're using a video that is a different template size, it's going to look off. It's not going to look how it should. Your outro video should match the same size as your template overlay. So if your template overlay is 1072 by 1072 pixels, your outro should also be 1072 by 1072 pixels. It shouldn't mix and match. Okay. So it's going to look a little weird, but I'm going to go ahead and add it anyways. As you can see, it now says delete post roll, which means something is loaded, and I'm done. I'm going to do a quick sample here of my Legoland hotel room real quick, and that way you guys can see what's going on. So here we go. Here we go. I'm just testing it out. Pretty cool room for my kids, which they're out in the pool somewhere. And here we go. So it's adding the effects, it's adding everything. And you should be able to see it play back on your screen. You guys are still able to see all that, right? On the screen, adding outro, adding audio.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, the Wi-Fi is pretty good here, actually. So there it is. I just did a test. That's the effect that was applied at that short span. And at the end, you're going to see a post-roll video. And that's pretty much it. Let me see. See how it looks off-centered because it's not too sized. If I would have had one too sized, then it would have looked centered. That's why I wanted to throw that disclaimer in there. But for those of you that are at home, real quick, you guys could scan that QR code, and you guys can actually get my sample file that I just filmed here on your phone. I'll leave that up for another 5 seconds. So if you have a camera, just scan that QR code with your camera app, and you should be able to download my video on your phone.
Can't get it. Why is it not working?
Give it a few extra seconds. Like I said, my internet speed looks like the upload might be a little good for this webinar, but it might take a little bit for it to reach the server.
Yep.
Just give
Got
it a little bit. Yeah. And then you'll be able to see it and everything's good. But that's pretty much it. I don't want to go into too much details. I went through a lot today with Scanpix. I showed you guys some brand new features with our webinar, with our designer, and how that's going to really turn it around for a lot of business owners that are not, design inclined and are spending tons of money having somebody design for them. Of course, if you have something that's custom made, go through, we don't want to take the job or the place of the designers, but we understand that there's a demand for it, right? If you need a custom design made, of course, go through somebody reputable that you feel comfortable with to have that made. But generally, for birthday parties or quick stuff that we do during the industry, you don't need to hire out every single time. You can just do it yourself, and it still looks elegant, still looks professional, and you're off and running. And they're absolutely free. They're absolutely gorgeous, and I'm a fan of this new designer. It's great. Last minute questions. Anybody have any last minute questions for me?
Can I ask one quick question?
Sure.
The sharing station, is there a button within the app that you add your sharing station?
Yeah, I'm not sure if you were part of the call earlier, but the sharing station, the way it's set up is if you're doing a sharing station, you're going to want to scan into it as a sharing station, right? That specific device, I'm going to go into it on my phone real quick and show you real quick. So from Touchpix, give me a sec here. From Touchpix, you see this gallery on the top right-hand side? I'm going to tap on gallery. From your sharing kiosk or your sharing station, that S on the top left-hand side, you're going to tap on it and hit activate receiver. And then you're going to do the same thing from your phone, but instead of receiver, you're going to hit activate sender, and you should be able to see the name of your iPad. And once you click on that name, they're going to communicate. They're going to establish the connection.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
One last question.
Take just two more questions, and then we're going to wrap up the webinar, DJ.
Cool, thank you.
Okay. Hey, DJ, one last question. I know you said this earlier, but I need clarity. When you're using a GoPro, your device that's going to control the GoPro, you cannot use that as a sharing station also, can you?
No, I mean, there's a lot of people that do it in the sense that they also have a cellular chip on their device. I don't recommend it because it's going to take a while for you to kind of go through a big event. Your process of doing videos is going to go extremely slow. I always recommend to get a separate device to do that.
Okay, and a big event is considered anything more than 50 people?
I would say so, correct.
Thank you.
A quick question, DJ. So for the sharing booth, we don't have to no longer create a duplicate event, right? For those, we just use that one QR code.
Great question. And the only time I would have you create a duplicate event is when you're using Scanpix only. Do not activate the second one using sharing station mode. Create a duplicate event of whatever it is, whatever event you've just created, and name it Scanpix and activate that duplicate event under Scanpix. But if you're just doing something without Scanpix, yeah, just use the sharing station method.
Which is just one QR code, right?
Correct.
Thank you.
Okay, everybody, look, I wish everybody success. I wish you best of luck in this business adventure you guys have taken. I'm happy that you guys are with Touchpix. We're here to help you. Tia and I, we're on this web call every Wednesday. Tia works the support lines as well. I work the support lines. So definitely reach out to any of us, but we definitely welcome you on this journey with us, and we try to help you as much as we can to get up to speed and understand what you're, some of the situations that you may encounter. But anytime, feel free to reach out. Now I'm going to get back to my little family vacation. And with that being said, you'll see this video posted up tomorrow. hopefully a little bit after 12 o'clock. You'll see it on the YouTube page. Thank you, everybody. Have a great night.
Good night.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you.
That was all right.